Chapter 5. Jerry had carefully put together the back axle and springs. The gas tank straps were in decent shape, so he used them with no problem. Since they were not sure about the shock absorbers, they figured the best move would be to see if they could find some near new at a junkyard. Now I mentioned that I have the wheel problem solved, reminded Uncle Bart. Most of the 62 and 63 Chevy 2s had small wheels with 4 lugs. It did okay for the average family driving around. But if you want to have some pizzazz, you install the 64 or 65 axles with 5 lugs. This makes the car safer, but beyond that, you can have a much better selection of dynamite wheels when you go to 5 lugs. Dynamite? I mean, if you want to make a statement, follow me into the storage room, he instructed. The boy strolled along, and as Bart headed into the office, in through a doorway into the furnace area. Take a look at these, the man said as he pointed at 2 stacks of fancy chrome wheels setting on the floor. Wow, those are boss. Were they for some kind of extra deluxe Nova? No, they were from a late 70s Buick. Man, are they mags? Not exactly. Mag wheels are made of solid magnesium. They are much sought after by kids and are very expensive, answered Uncle Bart. These are steel with chrome coating. We will polish them up and they will look beautiful. When you drive down the street with these, you will stand out. They are totally cool, no doubt about it. But how did you come by them? Jerry wanted to know. I did a brake job for a guy. He did not have enough money to pay for the job, so he offered to let me hold his wheels until he could round up the cash. That was 9 months ago, and since then he's moved to Atlantic City. Now they're going to go on your Shoebox Chevy 2. I can pay you out of my wages. That's not necessary. I would like these wheels to get used, and you have done well at helping me. You are learning all the things that Clem does. You change oil. You can change tires with the machine. You are a big help to me. Now, put on your junkyard list 4 205/70 R14 tires. That is the size for these rims. Sammy and Jerry walked down the trail between a row of old cars in the General Motors section of Chet's Auto Salvage. The plastic pail of tools did not feel heavy in Sam's hand, but that would change as the day went by. Jerry was hauling a large pipe wrench. Uncle Bart had sent them to a flea market with a list of essential tools to pick up. Jerry was able to score all of them. He carefully found 1/2-inch drive sockets, ratchets, and breaker bars. They were ready for battle. I just want to look at what parts we are looking for, Jerry mentioned as he reached in his pocket for his list. They stopped in front of a boxy Chevy 2. It hasn't been hit, observed Jerry, so it probably would not pass inspection. Yeah, agreed Sam. The sticker expired a couple of months ago. What do the seats look like? Asked Jerry. Pretty beat. Okay, I'll check the muffler. The car was resting on a concrete highway abutment that the yard had placed under all the cars so customers could have access to the bottom part safely. Not too bad. Jerry took a piece of paper which had been folded several times out of his pocket and wrote a note about the row, type of car, and possible part. Then he took the spray can of bolt buster from Sam's bucket and shot the manifold nuts and the front end strut adjuster nuts. Uncle Bart said to shoot anything you might want so the parts will soak while you're away. Good move. He examined the rear spring discs for wear, but found them to be beyond use. And we need a front bumper, but this one is rusty, said Jerry as he took an old suitcase out of the back seat of a Pontiac and placed it in the front of the Nova so it could easily be spotted on the return trip. They continued down the row. "What is the size of tire you need?" asked Sam as he stood next to an Oldsmobile. 205/70 R14. "That's what these are. What kind of shape?" "Well, one has good tread, but it's flat. The two back ones are worn out. Just a sec. I'll look at the other, in the front. Hey, it looks pretty nice." "Let me roll it around," said Jerry as he rotated the wheel. "I don't see any damage, and it has hair on it. Uncle Bart said that a tire is in good shape if the little threads of rubber from the manufacturing process have not been worn down. I will find a socket that will break the lug nut." Jerry found the right socket, snapped it onto his breaker bar, and placed it on the first lug. When he pulled on the bar, the wheel turned and he got nowhere. "Find me a jack iron. There might be one in the trunk or in one of the other cars nearby." Sam showed up with a rusted hubcap remover. Jerry slid it through a hole in the rim and turned the wheel until it bound up. He soon had all 5 lugs removed. The tire bounced as it dropped to the ground. Jerry rolled the tire along to inspect it carefully. "No gashes, no chips. It's practically a new tire. Okay, we will hide this in the back of a truck and pick it up when we break for lunch." "How much are tires?" asked Sam. Jerry pulled out the price list they had been given when they entered. $7 for car tires. There's a removal machine up near the office. I will not need this rim. After stowing the wheel and the tire in the back of the box truck, they wandered on down the row. "Remember, it's Hector's plumbing service," Jerry announced. After going down and up 2 rows, they came across a Chevy 2 hardtop. The door on the side they were on was missing. The door on the other side was in place. They raced around to view its condition. "Yeah, it's been crunched," moaned Jerry. "Almost, but not a winner." "That is a shame, but is there anything else that's usable?" "Well, the bumper's gone. The seats are gone. But wait a minute, the windshield is cracked. I need a windshield seal. You look down the row for more Novas. I want to explain to Chet that the windshield is cracked and I am not smashing up a good one." A few minutes later, Jerry tracked down Sam and told him, "Chet said to knock it out. At least he could sell the seal. There's a nice windshield on the parts car, but Uncle Bart says the only way you can remove it is by cutting the seal. So if we can get this seal, we will have what we need." Upon returning to the hardtop, Jerry put on goggles and began to pound the front glass with a brick. Soon the entire windshield was laying on the floor. Using pliers, he pulled on the remaining chunks of glass. He took a screwdriver and chipped out the remaining shards that were still stuck in the rubber slot. He then began to pull the rubber seal from its metal edge around the sides until it was laying on the hood. While he was there, he checked the wiper blades, but they were not usable. He took a last glance at the spring discs, but they were extremely rusty. "All right, we nailed that. Let's see what other parts we can find out here," said Jerry as he hung the seal over his shoulder. "Wait a second," exclaimed Sam. "We forgot the back windows." "How right you are," answered Jerry as he put down the gasket and crouched into the back seat area. Cranking the handle quickly, a pointed pane of glass rose out of the channel slot. "Looks pretty good. I think you got a winner. I'll roll up the left side." "We are cooking," said Jerry. "Now we have to figure out how to remove them. It looks like we will have to peel out the side panel cover to get to the crank mechanism. Hand me a screwdriver so I can pry off the panel." After carefully lifting the panel away, they could see the rods, gears, and screws that held the unit in place. After several minutes, they had both windows in hand. This was a lucky find. I'm glad you thought of it. Oh, we have to check for tools. Let me see. What did we use? Okay, we got them all. As they repacked their tools, Sammy noticed all the tools had 2 grind marks on them. I see all your tools have scratches. Yeah, Uncle Bart told me to put a unique mark on everything I have. That way, if I'm ever working on a project with somebody else, I'll be able to know which ones are mine. Your uncle thinks of everything. Well, he is the most practical person I've ever met. He always wants things to run smooth so time is not wasted and you get maximum production out of a day. That plus he hates being frustrated trying to get a job done. You're lucky to know him, reflected Sam as they walked down the row of junk cars. Yeah, he has a lot of good ideas on how to operate. For instance, he says, tomorrow is the result of what you do today. And that is true. He cited an example of a person stuck on a deserted island who spends the day building a bamboo hut. When it rains the next day, he is dry and comfortable and in a position to plot his next move. If the man had spent the day complaining about a situation or throwing stones in the ocean, he is going to be wet and cold and distracted. Makes sense. Yeah, and that is why he hates computer games. You don't have any yield to show for your time. Your uncle's very smart, but I can't give up my games, moaned Sam. Well, that's how he operates. He says if you are not producing, you are robbing yourself. What's this? Asked Jerry as he spotted a Chevy 2 two-door. Looks like a Box Nova. Let's check it out. It has a gas cap, said Sam. Grab that, answered Jerry. The exhaust pipe and muffler look to be brand new. This is the best one we've seen. Let's get it off. It has not been in place that long. It should not be a problem getting the manifold joint loose, observed Jerry as he fished through the bucket for the right socket. You have to remember the bolts on old cars are US and not metric. Do you want to spray it with Bolt Buster? Asked Sam. It wouldn't hurt. Also hit the strut nuts. We might be able to get them off. The boys disconnected the nuts and bolts that were supporting the pipe sections and muffler and soon had it on the ground. It's long. How you going to get it home? Sam inquired. I'm glad we took my mom's station wagon. We can open the back window and let it stick out a little. Okay, we will see what we can do with these strut nuts. Uncle Bart said they would unscrew fairly easily when the cars were only a few years old. But after 25 years, they get rusted and almost welded. If you put a socket on them with a breaker bar, they will bend the strut backwards bolted on the A-frame. That sounds bad, responded Sam. The strut would be ruined, but you can secure it just after the second nut. If you can secure it just after the second nut, you have a better chance of breaking the first nut, Jerry explained. That is why I brought the pipe wrench, and we will scrounge up a piece of pipe to slide over the pipe wrench handle. After a 10-minute search, Sam called out that he had found the required 3-foot-long section of pipe. Jerry slipped it over the handle of the big wrench and placed it on the strut just below the threads of the strut in the clockwise direction. He then put a deep well socket on the end nut. Are you able to keep it still? Jerry asked as he pushed the breaker bar counterclockwise. Jerry heard a click when the nut gave way. Got it loose. They can really be tough. Uncle Bart says that you sometimes have to put a piece of wood along the ground over to the curb to keep the pipe wrench from moving if you're breaking the nut on a car parked on the street. They put some oil on the strut threads and turned the nut tight and loose until it moved out the strut to the end of the threads. Okay, we got it off, said Jerry as he studied the strut and pictured the next move. Undo the 2 bolts that hold the back end to the A-frame. They soon had the desired part in their hands. We can wrestle the other one off in a few minutes. Uncle Bart says we should have 2 extra sets around for backups. If you want to do a front-end alignment, you have to loosen both of the nuts to make the necessary adjustments with these nuts. So often they are severely damaged from years of being under the car with salt and crud covering them. Yeah, they're not easy to break, agreed Sammy. He said once we get them home, we can clean all the oil off with some gas, and after they are thoroughly dry, we can run the threads over a wire wheel to get them to the point where the nuts move easily. He also said to get 1 extra nut. We'll have to ask him about that. We know how to take it off, observed Sam. We can bring him as many as he wants. The boys got the second strut removed and headed back to the yard office. The old suitcase alerted them to the car they looked at with the struts. They made quick work of their removal and moved on to the box truck for the tire. All right, we're getting things done, Jerry said as they laid down the exhaust pipe and gasket next to the tire changing machine. There's a valve removal tool in the bucket. We have to have the air out to press the tire down to break the seal. The tire was quickly removed, and they hauled their finds to the checkout.